Howdy to y'all students, teachers, and anybody who accidentally stumbled in here. This is Nutshelled History, and today we are going to talk about early Europe, Africa, and Asia. Now, I know that this is an American history series, but America is part of the whole wide world, and what happens or what happened around the world impacts America. There's a worksheet that you can use in the description down below. During the Middle Ages in Europe, conflict was common, like it was all the time. No wonder they called it the Dark Ages in Europe. Because of this, people sought new ways of defending themselves. Kings and queens divided their lands among warrior nobles who promised to fight for the crown when asked. This system was called feudalism. The king was on top of the hierarchy, but the nobles who were underneath the monarchy, if they acted collectively, could impose their will. Underneath the nobles were the knights. At the bottom, the largest group were the peasants. While not completely impossible, it was very hard to move up the levels in this pyramid. Even more powerful at times than the king was the church. The Catholic Church was a powerful influence in Western Europe. It owned a great deal of land and was the only source of education. Often, only the clergy could read and write. Judaism was also strong in the area, although Jewish people were often persecuted. Between 1100 and 1300, tens of thousands of Christians journeyed to the Middle East in an effort to gain control of Jerusalem, which is the Holy Land. These crusades failed in the end, but during this time, they were exposed to a lot of cool things from other cultures. As a result, since they wanted those cool things for themselves, trade increased. By the 1400s, a complex trade network linked Europe, Africa, and Asia, much of it passing through the Middle East. Trade helped the spread of Islam. This religion was founded on the Arabian Peninsula in the early 600s by the Prophet Muhammad. Islam spread to North Africa and Spain, far into Africa's interior, and to Persia and India. The Middle Eastern traders developed technologies, including the astrolabe, that helped them navigate across a vast area by allowing sailors to figure out their latitude. I mean, why didn't they just use Google Maps? Trade flowed up and down the coast of East Africa. Gold from Zimbabwe was carried to coastal cities and then exported to China and India. Several rich trading kingdoms also emerged in West Africa. Mali arose about 1200 and lasted about 200 years, reaching its peak under the rule of Mansa Musa, who may have been the richest person who ever lived. He gave away so much gold as he was passing through Egypt while on his Hajj that it took years for Egypt's economy to recover from the inflation. While large cities flourished in some parts of the continent, most people who lived in Africa lived outside these kingdoms. They made their living by farming, hunting, or fishing. Family kinship was important, and many Africans honored their ancestors in rituals and ceremonies. Unlike Africa, where many kingdoms existed, China was unified under one emperor. China was isolated by its geography. The mountains, deserts, and seas created natural barriers. As a result, the ancient Chinese believed their nation to be the center of the world. I think that they still do. Chinese inventors revolutionized shipbuilding, introducing such innovations as the rudder and watertight compartments in the hold. They probably also developed the magnetic compass. These innovations spread when the Chinese explorer Zheng He visited ports throughout Asia and Africa with his 300-ship fleet. His ships were massive. Europeans became curious about the world as they read ancient texts from monastery libraries and from the Middle East. A great burst of science and technological innovation called the Renaissance resulted from this curiosity. Yay, Ninja Turtles! Among these innovations was the use of movable type, which made books more available. Since more books were available and they were cheaper, literacy around the world increased. Knowledge is power. Turtle power. New rulers in major European nations wanted to increase their wealth. Gotta get that gold. Explorers began searching for alternate routes to China and India. With their caravels, Portuguese explorers journeyed down the African coast, trading for gold and ivory, and eventually rounded the tip of Africa. They pushed on to the East Indies, the source of valuable spices. Spoiler alert, some guy's gonna think it's a good idea to go west to get to the East Indies instead of around Africa. He's gonna bump into a whole new world. Well, to the Europeans at least. There you have it, folks. Early Europe, Africa, and Asia nutshelled. Thanks for stopping by. Hit that like and subscribe button down below. Do you think Mansa Musa was the richest person that has ever lived? Let us know in the comments down below.